we're going to take a look at my inbox from today, I hope. What happened? Here we go. Um, let's take a look at my inbox. Right now, there are 37 messages in my inbox. I see a bunch of them that are going to get deleted right away. Uh, I try to keep my inbox with no more than 20 emails at any one time. So when I get an email, and the emails that I get, for the most part, 95% of them are emails that I have requested to get, and not necessarily spam. Now, not all of them are good, and I quickly, if the subject line of the email does not attract my attention, and I don't think, well, if the subject line doesn't get my attention, then there's no sense in me spending time to see if the email itself will give me information that I find desirable, information that will improve my life, information that I would want to share with you. So I can delete it, I can read it right away, or I can file it because the subject line offers information that I can use in the future. Now, I get a lot of emails that are, what would I say, collaborative. They're collaborative emails. They are um, emails where people have put together a lot of different blogs, a lot of different ideas, and they have sent me that email with all of, it might have 20 different topics in it. And that is a good kind of email for me because out of the 20, there has to be one, hopefully several, definitely not all, but at least several emails that have valuable information in them, once again, that are important to me and what I am doing in my business, important enough that I think they could offer a benefit to you in your business or you starting a business. So there were a couple that got my attention, and one was called the First Time Tech Entrepreneur, and it comes from a website called StartupSmart, and I have I really like StartupSmart, that website. It is done by four entrepreneurs from Australia, and they try to put together information about starting a business in Australia. And so I won't share with you information about starting a business as specific as starting one in Australia because I don't know all the laws, I don't know the culture, I don't know enough information to say, well, that's a good idea, that's a bad idea. But when they talk about just generally information of a general nature, well, general nature in that it doesn't matter where your business is located. It could be in Australia, it could be in the United States, it could be in Great Britain, it could be wherever. And this one was called First Time Tech Entrepreneur. And it's a young lady who is the author, and her name isn't at the top. Her name is Rebekah Campbell. Computer's moving slow today. Okay. I found it interesting. She's young, probably does not have a great deal of business experience. And that's okay. That's okay. She wrote a very good blog that got my attention, and I wanted to share that information with you. Uh, the only mistake I regret. Important advice for startup founders. I've talked a lot in this blog about the mistakes I've made over the past couple of years, what I've learned, and the ways I apply all this to how I run the company now. I don't regret any of the mistakes I've mentioned so far. Each one helped me grow as a person and as a business leader. Each contributed to Posse, P-O-S-S-E, that's the name of her companies, for that evolution into the awesome platform of tomorrow. Important point here is that she realizes that she's made mistakes, but she has grown with the mistakes that she has made. I add that you can make a mistake at least twice. It shouldn't be as bad a mistake the second time, but you can make a mistake twice. If you make it a third time, I think you're in deep trouble. I think you're in deep trouble. So I will limit myself to making a mistake twice. But the second time it's a variation of the first. It's not the exact same thing. It's an improvement upon, but it's still not there. And after making the same mistake twice, I will not make it a third time. That's a rule that I have. And what was her mistake? Posse, P-O-S-S-E, it's the name of her company, was my idea. I drove it right from the start. But in the early days, I didn't know anything about running a technology company. I wasn't confident that the idea would work and that I wouldn't end up with egg on my face. Okay, that is truly a concern of any new business startup. It's that fear of failure, and I say there is no such thing as failure. If you've tried something, you haven't failed. You'll never fail. You might not be as successful as you want to be, and you might not necessarily achieve your goals and objectives, but that is not failure. And it's that fear that people have, and that often keeps them from starting a business. I know I'm very blessed because I was thrown into the whole mix of things very early on. And the very first big business decision that I made was to buy a business for $10,000. And that was back 38 years ago. I bought a business 38 years ago. It just so happens that I bought it for my mother, and I bought it for my mother because her father, my grandfather, told me that's what I was going to do. No argument. I did it. I knew kind of what I was doing, but I didn't know the impact of what I was doing. I didn't know if $10,000 was a fair price for what I was buying. Didn't know that until I really got into everything. Although my grandfather, who was as fair an individual as was ever created, he would not have led me in the wrong direction. And yes, he was dealing with his daughter, my mother, but he was a fair man. So if he said that's what I was going to do, I knew it was the right thing for me to do. So I had that whole fear thing that people have in the beginning. It wasn't even a part of my thought process, my being. Now that I had a $10,000 investment, I had to do whatever I needed to do to get a return on that investment. And interestingly enough, it took me less than a year to realize a return on that initial $10,000 investment. In the interest of spreading the financial and reputational risk, Rebekah says, I asked a few friends to help. After I had written the plan, fleshed out the idea, and who would be involved, I sat in a cafe and wrote on a napkin how I would divide up the company. How many times is that done? By the way, to that point, I only saw the beginning of the movie, and I'm sure it'll be on again soon. But last night, instead of watching the debates, I watched the beginning of the movie The Social Network. Actually, one of my favorite movies of all times. I've seen it twice, but I really, really wanted to see it a third time to see what I missed. And of course, if you don't know what The Social Network is, it's the story of Facebook, how Facebook got started, from one individual's eyes. There are some aspects of the movie which have been challenged over time. A lot of it is fact, not a whole lot of fiction. Good acting, good script, really good script, and you really learn a lot about Mark Zuckerberg, the entrepreneur. I think his story, I know as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what other folks think, but as far as I'm concerned, it's the most fascinating story of entrepreneurship that I have ever followed in all my time. And to watch an idea start, to see how it got started, and then to know today that in about 8 years' time, he started a business that today impacts a large percentage of the entire world. He has provided a technology platform that connects over 1 billion people. Well, it is believable because we see it happen, an incredible story of entrepreneurship. And it's been fun, interesting, and informing to watch that business grow. And one of his biggest challenges, and this is what made me think about it as Rebekah was talking about a first-time entrepreneur and a technology business and who was going to own what. Very early in Zuck's history and his growth and development of his company, he was getting legal challenges. First of all, he was penalized at Harvard for tapping into their computer network and doing certain things that he wanted to do to start his business. The Winklevoss twins, who were obviously a very important part of the Social Network movie, they sued the Zuck for, well, they actually won $63 million in a lawsuit saying that he took their idea and made it into Facebook, and apparently they were, for the time being, they were content with taking $63 million, getting a settlement of $63 million. 1 year after they got that $63 million settlement, they went back to court to try to get another, was it another 60 million or another 100 million? Their argument was they didn't get enough, that it was undervalued what they got. It wasn't too long till the judge threw that lawsuit out, and it was never even heard. So, you know, you can empathize with Rebekah's position. She had the technology idea, but she needed other people to help her create and develop and grow the business. So she made the mistake. And what was her mistake? Different people would have different. We heard she wrote it on a napkin. How many businesses are started on a napkin? I've done at least a half a dozen business ideas that started on a napkin. I guess that's the way it happens. I appreciate that this blog would touch a new nerve in some people, but I think it's an important story to tell. I decided to write it because since I don't have any plans to start another company, this isn't a lesson that I can learn from, but I hope that my telling it may prevent others from making the same mistake. It's a great blog. I'm not going to read any more of it. Go to StartupSmart.com, StartupSmart.com, and you can search first-time tech entrepreneur. You can search Rebekah. You can search the only mistake I regret. It's today. If you go today, you'll find that blog today. Read it. If you are going to start a business, which I hope you are, if it's a technology-driven business, this would be a good place to read and see the challenges that she had and what she calls mistakes that she made and what she learned. And then she is sharing those learnings with you. That, my friends, is what small business collaboration is all about. When she went to other folks to help her build this business, there needed to be a spirit of collaboration. But she now realizes that she made a mistake and she didn't do it right. So take time to read it. It's a great blog. It's a young entrepreneur, and I was happy. I was happy that I took the time to read it because it made me step back and think, wow, have I made some similar mistakes in my life? I have actually, in a sense, made a mistake as I started up David's Barter Community, which is a very technology-driven company, very technology-driven, of which I am not a technology person. I partnered with an individual, Curtis, who is 25 years old. He was 22 years old when we started building the project. And he has been writing code just like the Zuck. Started probably at about the same age that Zuck started, although Zuck is 3 years older than Curtis is. And Curtis is not going to build a Facebook community, or our community is not going to be the size of Facebook. We think it's going to be, we know it's as important because it deals with another aspect of living, and that is business. and starting a business and growing a business. So it's a very important function, but well, we will never have 1 billion people connected like the Zuck has. But go and read this blog. It's a good one, and it will give you certainly some things to think about. If well, not just starting a business, but if you're starting a business that has a technology theme to it. The mistakes that I made, that I did not properly define in the beginning what exactly the relationship was between Curtis and myself, and now it is being defined 3 years after we started. So the important thing, and this is how I presented it to him, that our community, the technology of the community, is his. He built it. He developed it. It's his technology. The content in the community, anything that you read, anything that you see, I have created myself. So I own all the content. He owns the technology. And together we have built a great community and a very interesting business relationship has evolved. And as I shared a simple business concept with another individual who's a young lady who's in my exercise class. She wants to start a business, and so she was questioning me on some things, and I shared with her some things that I've learned and decisions that I've made, and she said, geez, what a novel approach you've developed. So go read the blog. It's a great one. Thank you, Rebekah, for sharing your innermost feelings with us. And the next thing I'm going to share with you is an article, a blog that I read this morning in a wonderful, wonderful magazine, and I don't have a copy of the magazine at hand. I actually read it as an email. Maybe I have a copy of the magazine. It's called Website Magazine. It is wonderful. Actually, I get emails from them every day, and I thought I might have had one right here. I don't. I get emails from them every day. I get a printed magazine from them once a month. So the information that I get, happens every day. We're going to share about YouTube video basics. You know that YouTube is a very important part of our marketing strategy, our business strategy, and it's some good information about the basics, and I'll share those with you in just a moment.